Hello everyone and welcome to another Navis Nobilite, and we are now moving on to the escort craft of the Imperial Navy. The Imperial Navy escorts serve a very important function within the Imperial Navy fleet dynamic. Specifically, they are the source of high speed, high firepower with low durability units within the Imperial Navy. While most of the Imperial Navy is very, very slow, it travels at a pretty much set speed of 20 centimeters per movement phase. The escorts of the Imperial Navy are quite quick and they are heavily overgunned, and they are provided to be a uh, series of multiple use escorts that generally have between 1 and 3 different functionalities within the tactical use of the fleet. And we're going to begin with the Sword class frigate because the Sword really does set the standard throughout all of Battlefleet Gothic as a baseline excellent escort. If we're going to look at the Sword, we're going to first look at its points. At 35 points, it is actually rather underpointed for the value of the escort craft. The stat line is Escort 1, which means it has only one hit, which means if anything really pays any close attention to a single sword, it's going to die very fast. 25 centimeter speed and 90-degree turns. Now, this is identical to the Dauntless, but remember, because this is an escort, it does not have to go 10 centimeters before it needs to turn. So it can turn right away, making it extremely maneuverable. It has a single shield, 5 up armor all round, and critically 2 turrets. Its firepower is a strength 4 front left right 30 centimeter weapon battery. Now, I want to make this functionally clear. The Sword class frigate in squads of 3 to 6 is a threat to everything in the game. There is nothing in this game that is staring down the firepower of a between strength 12 and 24 weapons battery and simply brushes it off as if it were nothing. This has enough firepower to make a Space Marine battle barge reconsider its life choices. And it is also probably the single best Eldar killer of the entire Imperial Navy, simply because it's on a platform that is very, very quick, very maneuverable, and has a low low individual points investment, which means every time you cause a point of damage to an Eldar, you're usually earning your points back very quickly. Now, the Sword class frigate has multiple functions within the fleet. Obviously, it is a fast interceptor and a fast ship support craft. It is really, really effective at hunting other escorts. It is still effective at attacking larger vessels like cruisers, and it can even run the risk of causing severe damage to larger vessels like grand cruisers and even battleships. But really what this thing is an active source of a lot of weapons batteries, and it is an ordnance sponge with 2 turrets each sword. If you have 2 other swords, or even if you can manage it, 3 other swords sitting base to base, you're rendering pretty much any moderately sized uh, ordnance salvo effectively irrelevant. A strength 6 torpedo can fly into a squadron of swords and basically be sucked up and ignored. Especially if you brace for impact, because the thing still has to chew through all the turrets. It then has to roll against a 5 up armor, and then it has a 4 up save. And the downside is you're only shooting a strength 12 weapons battery instead of a strength 24. It's still a dangerous amount of firepower. Ultimately, the Sword class frigate and pretty much all of the Imperial Navy escorts are really designed to put a huge amount of firepower at a pinpoint location or to shore up a potentially weak flank. The best, at least in my experience, I take these in squads of 6. I want to have that maximum amount of firepower. I want the enemy to recognize that I have the ability to move quickly and attack with a huge amount of force on a relatively zippy platform. And ultimately, if they attack these platforms, they actually are quite resilient, since each individual one has a shield, and each individual one, if you say you take 5 hits on a sword squadron, The first hit goes to a shield, and then you roll one at a time on the brace for impact if you braced. And every time you roll that one and you pass it, the shot's ignored. And if you're supremely lucky, you can pretty much ignore a huge amount of fire just because you kept rolling that 1-4. That may be true for cruisers as well, but I have seen some truly astounding things. And even if you lose that one sword, well, the next hit is taken up by the next sword shield, rendering an entire hit completely irrelevant. It takes a lot of firepower to take out a escort squadron if you're not going through shields with ordnance like torpedoes. And with these turrets, torpedoes aren't going to do as much damage as you think they are. The Sword class frigate is overlooked a lot because it doesn't have anything but a weapons battery. I would like to challenge my fellow players to actually take them more often because they have a weapons battery. Yes, you have to roll a 5 or a 6 against your enemy, but it's all about volume of fire. It's all about throwing as many dice as you possibly can, and you may be surprised one day when a successfully locked on squadron completely deletes an enemy battleship just because you happen to roll particularly well. And if you ever are dealing with an Eldar problem, these are basically the best non-Eldar solution. Simply take a bunch of swords and watch as the local Eldar player reconsiders their life choices. I'm going to be moving on to the Firestorm next. I hope to see you all in the next video.